I still remember the day I set foot in Iraq, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. With years of training under my belt, I was well equipped to handle anything that came my way. Or so I thought. I was a Navy SEAL, a highly skilled warrior trained to fight in the harshest environments on Earth. From scaling rocky cliffs to diving into freezing waters, I had done it all. But as soon as I found out, there was one thing no amount of training could have prepared me for: the emotional turmoil of war. The harrowing mission that changed my life forever, and the unanticipated aftermath that left me questioning everything I thought I knew. But first, let me tell you about the moment when everything went wrong. It was 2006 when my fellow SEALs and I embarked on a mission that would change our lives forever. We were deployed to Iraq, a land riddled with conflict, in search of fighters who posed a threat to our forces. The scorching sun beat down on us as we advanced, fueled by adrenaline and a sense of duty. The intelligence we had received painted a vivid picture of our target, a village where the enemy was believed to be hiding. The drone flying over the target saw 6 men sleeping outside. The village consisted of 10 low adobe houses. We patrolled the village and didn't see any power lines, so we assumed people were sleeping outside. We approached the village slowly before 3 a.m. My night vision goggles couldn't see the horizon in the flat desert. Moon or village? The stars were dense above me. Slowly, they approached the houses. The troop chief ordered us to form a large L formation and approach the village. The vertical L would search the village for fighters, second group, me. I heard assault team updates on my radio net. I knew we had drones and an AC-130 above us for close air support. I looked where the drone saw the sleepers. 2 desert-watching men stood. It appeared they were talking. They appeared to be peering into the desert night. Had they heard anything? Finally, one man awoke the others. His partner kept watching the desert. The others slowly stood up and looked around. The men walked to the nearest house while the others moved. We couldn't fire because none of the men had guns, but seeing a large group of men sleeping on the village's outskirts was suspicious. Women and children? They stopped halfway to a village edge house. The group turned and headed to their bedrolls. My night vision showed all the men from 200 meters away. After returning to their bedrolls, they grabbed AK-47s, RPGs, and even a belt-fed PKM machine gun. Our snipers targeted fighters' chests with multiple IR lasers. 3 enemies fell seconds later. Others panicked and fled to the village. Suppressed rounds kept coming. 5 fighters fell. L base remained. We hoped the enemy didn't see us off their right flank. The troop chief spoke over the radio within minutes. "Okay guys, the base is holding maneuver, and the maneuver is starting assault." 2 or 3 SEALs would slowly advance with guns drawn, stopping a short distance ahead of the next group. They kneeled and held security while the rest of the unit ran past. 4 men dashed back to the bedrolls as we entered the village. I was within 100 yards. I pointed my gun at the first guy in the group. First he knelt on his bedroll. I fired my laser at his chest. We hit him quickly, spinning him down. I followed our lasers to each target until all 4 were still on the ground. We took stock again. I knelt and scanned the building for more heroes. Phil, my team leader, kneeled beside me and whispered. "Interesting," he said. "They must want to fight. They're serious. Let's keep moving," the troop chief radioed. My team spent 30 minutes clearing houses. I watched every doorway and window for a fighter. A man looked out a door ahead. Thanks to darkness, our night vision goggles, Phil's laser illuminated his head as he quickly pulled it back. He slowly turned his head to look at us. Phil's laser illuminated his forehead. Phil's MP7 suppressed several shots, and the man's head vanished. 2 fighters ran through the village, exited, and ran into the desert to hide. 4 SEALs and a combat dog chased the fighters from the village. 1 fighter appeared to be completely blown apart. He was hit by the plane's 105mm howitzer. The 105mm shell can cause serious damage. I was still on security in the village when Phil called. Phil called us Alpha 2, Alpha 1. "Need you here." Phil and 2 of my teammates searched the main room as I crossed over the fighter's body. The fighter's gun rested against the foyer's far wall. Phil removed the magazine from the chamber. I glanced at the dead fighter. His head was far from the main room doorway. Phil and I might not have seen the fighter had he not exposed himself in the doorway. Phil hit him well. He was shot flush in the forehead above his nose. One eye stared blankly at the ceiling after half his face was torn off. The blood pool had a filthy calico kitten with matted fur. Not expected. Quite gruesome. I left and searched the house. I turned and saw a small child huddled in the corner. He was as filthy as the foyer cat, licking blood. I glanced back and saw that he would have seen the foyer man shot. The man could have been his father or a fighter hiding in the house. He saw us shoot the guy and the cat licking the blood. The scared kid shook. He probably thought we'd kill him. With all my guns and gear, I looked pretty menacing. I slowly popped a chem light from my vest. I gave him a Jolly Rancher. The kid initially avoided eye contact. "Hello, buddy. I won't hurt you." He couldn't understand me. He looked up slowly. He was assessing my threat. He quickly grabbed the chem light and candy after looking away. I listened to the radio to find out where we were concentrating on women and children. I stood up and waved him to follow me to a nearby house. I took his hand and led him outside because he didn't understand. I blocked his view of the dead fighter and the blood-licking cat. We strolled. When I arrived, some women and children were crying. I worked knowing the kid was safe. I could still picture the cat licking the blood and the kid watching from across the room as the man's head was blown off as I returned to the house to search. I quickly forgot about the image and resumed my search. Missions made me forget. I know guys who brag about killing. I always reasoned that if I hadn't shot the enemy, he would have killed one of my swim buddies, or me. I just improved at compartmentalizing. Emotional stuff was blocked out. I overcame the confusion of living abroad and at home. Redirecting many SEAL training lessons helped me overcome it. I didn't let combat affect me. I only discussed work with my teammates at home. After the redacted mission, I couldn't relax. After talking to my friend, I felt better leaving the cage. I wasn't the only one confused by what happened since the raid. The Navy addressed combat stress several years earlier. They wanted us to spend a few days in Germany after every deployment. We needed to relax. We returned home 24 hours after surgery before heading to Germany. I'd go from a gunfight overseas to Taco Bell for 2 tacos and a bean burrito the next day. That Taco Bell stop may have helped me compartmentalize my brain. After the policy change, we stopped in Germany and the command psychologist flew over to teach us about combat stress and civilian life. Family routines were emphasized in training for guys with families. New policy replaced Germany's stop. We all saw a command psychologist. Jerry and I arrived late at the psych office. She was 3 weeks pregnant. "Listen," Jerry said, pointing to her stomach. "We'll save 30 minutes by scheduling our sessions together." She waved us into her office after pondering. I sat opposite the psychologist. "Jerry understands me completely," I said. "I know all about him." She spent most of the 30 minutes asking about stress and PTSD symptoms. She gave us a symptom sheet. Holy shit, I think I have all of these, I thought. Why aren't we more screwed? Jerry and I have been trained to handle most combat and tactical situations, but we've never had any emotional training. She nodded. She described it as BUDS, the 6-month SEAL training program. So BUDS strengthened me, or has BUDS weeded out the weak? I asked. I stumped her. Jerry interrupted her. I think we're just mentally stronger than everyone else on the planet, he smiled. He messed around. It was easier to joke about and ignore. After 30 minutes, we left the doctor's office without a word. I kept the doctor's list. From the helicopter crash on the redacted raid to the malnourished Iraqi cat licking the fighter's blood, each experience was separate. After the Navy, the symptoms persisted. Combat stress affects us differently. SEAL life is hard. Yeah. Gradually, I began to sleep better and found solace in knowing I could compartmentalize the trauma I had faced. I still have the list of PTSD symptoms the psychologist gave me, and I can't help but notice that they all still apply. Coping with the stress of combat is a deeply personal process, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution. Each of us must find our own path towards healing and moving forward. Being a SEAL is a demanding life and career, filled with sacrifices I never could have imagined. The emotional challenges have been immense, but the camaraderie and the sense of purpose have made it all worth it, despite it all.